everyone. I guess I'm live here. I don't know why my phone is making weird color, like a filter on it or something. That's what happened yesterday. It looked weird. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I guess it's fine. Can everyone hear me okay? Hopefully I'll see you all. That's really weird, the way the color is. Huh. I think there's a filter on here. Oh well. I guess I won't worry about it, which is actually a good theme for today. Can everyone hear me, I hope? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or a, whatever it is you give on these things, because I didn't put in any headphones. I'm going to look on the thing too. I got 6 people on. Hi everyone. Feel free to say hi if you're on here. And let's see if I can see it on my other computer. I'm just going to wait a minute, get more people to come in. Okay, there I am. Yeah, it looks stupid. Okay, whatever. So let me take some of the questions. You can post questions here. Okay, good. Now I see you guys saying you can hear me. Sweet. Great. Okay, so you can post questions here, or I'm going to go on back to that other thread yesterday where I asked people to post questions, if I can find it. Questions, where'd that one go? Okay, here we go. So let's see, we had, yes, the group stayed around, as you know, if you've been following along the rocky road on this. In this group, we've had a switch of administrators. From Nicola has kindly let me take over the group so that you guys wouldn't be out with having to miss all her videos and stuff if you didn't get a chance to see them. So I am your new host. Jill Whalen is my name. My blog is at whatdidyoudowithjill.com. If you'd like to, I have probably 150 or more blog posts up there that relate to this understanding. They're not specifically, there's some specifically to anxiety, but they relate to this understanding, and that's the beauty of this understanding. Far beyond anxiety, this understanding helps. Relationships helps. Depression helps. All kinds of mental health issues helps. Just getting along with people in general and just having a better life. So that's really cool. So my blog posts have all kinds of stuff like that. About, different ways that it can help you. Let's see some more questions. So, no question there. A lot of stuff that aren't questions in the question thread. I sent a blog post over to Gemma, who had a question about going to a social outing, and hopefully that answered it, the blog post. And now okay, here's one. Joe had a question. I got my head around the concept that anxiety is caused by anxious thinking a few weeks ago and had a major aha. Unfortunately, since then, I became down and the anxiety returned, and I can't seem to get that clarity back. Do you have any ideas on how I can tune back in and get it again? Well, that is such a common one, Joe, because that happens to all of us. That's nothing wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You haven't lost your understanding. Your ahas didn't go away. That's what happens. Like, I still will get anxious sometimes, and then I'll be like, well, geez, what happened to me? I wrote the book on anxiety, and here I am anxious again. And all that does is serve to beating ourselves up. It doesn't help, and that feeds into the anxiety and makes us feel even worse. So really, don't worry about it. That's normal. This understanding does not rid us completely of anxiety. That's not what this is about, and that's a common misunderstanding that is unfortunate, because then people think I'm not getting it because I still feel anxious. Like, I still feel anxious too, but it's a different quality to it most of the time, and even not always then. But the thing is, my head is clearer overall. And when that starts to happen for you, and that happens for me through just natural observation of my thoughts during the day. Thoughts can't stand the light of day, just like cockroaches. And so if you're just observing that you're thinking, because most of us go through life without realizing we're thinking, if you can observe your thoughts and just notice that you're thinking, you don't have to pay attention to the content, but know how much you're thinking, then your head will begin to get clearer overall. And that's when you'll start to see the connection between thoughts and feelings, and it'll just suddenly start to make much more sense for you, to you. So don't worry about it. There's no rush. This is just the way the world works, and it will always work this way. So there's no hurry on when you get it or don't get it, or if it seems to come back. You're still on the right track. If you've had an aha moment, you don't know what will happen down the line with how you feel and stuff. So that's really cool. Let's see. Sarah said, I have irritable bowel syndrome, which causes me to have a lot of nausea some days and sometimes to have to urgently get to the toilet. These physical symptoms are what really get me anxious about going out. I still go out every single day as I have no other choice with a 6-year-old to look after, and so I guess you could say I'm feeling the fear and doing it anyway. But still, the fear never goes away and the physical symptoms are still there. I guess my question is, what do you think if I stop caring so much what might happen and let go of the outcome that the physical symptoms might lessen? That's the answer. You just answered the question yourself. That's awesome, Sarah. That's exactly it. Like, we don't know what any outcome's going to be. We have no control over situations as much as we feel like we do. Like, we just don't know. And so much of our anxiety comes from worrying about what may or may not happen. So you can do the thing, and maybe something bad will happen, and maybe something won't. But if you're not worried about that, you'll do the thing, and you at least won't have that worry on top of it. So, like, for me, I'm in a situation now with one of my daughters. She's an adult daughter. And I find, generally, I'm fine with this situation. It's not a situation anyone would want to be in. But I've been mostly okay with it. But I find the times when I have trouble, or I start to feel bad about it, or get anxious about it, is when the worried thoughts start to come in, and that about the future, like, well, what's going to happen next week with her? What's going to happen when she has to do this? What's going to happen then? When my mind starts going there, that's when I start to feel bad. Now, I can't stop my mind from doing what it's doing, but here's the thing. Just like I said at the beginning, because I'm aware of my thoughts and I know I'm thinking, I see clearly that this is coming from thought. In the moment, I see the thoughts. So even though I can't change them, I just see, oh, there come those thoughts again, wondering what I'm going to do about my daughter. And they seem to just pass as long as I notice them, rather than just, wallowing in it. I notice, oh, I'm thinking those thoughts again. And, even if I don't see the thoughts, but feel the feeling and know I must be thinking the thoughts, that too is helpful. Because our feelings are our guide. They're helpful. They're telling us, we must be feeling anxious thoughts again, or we must be feeling worried thoughts or depressed thoughts. So I still don't know what's going to happen with my daughter in the immediate future. And I won't know until it happens. So I can make myself suffer by by really feeding into those worried thoughts. When I still don't know what's going to happen, it's not going to change anything. Worrying doesn't make things different. It doesn't change the situation. Or I can live my life right now in the moment and play it by ear when things happen. Sure, I can ask other people for advice and things like that, which I may do. But I really don't like suffering, so I try to do as little of it as possible. And that's by being aware that I'm thinking. This is so key, folks. This is like the most important thing, is awareness. Aware that we're thinking. Let's see what else. So yes, Erin had asked if we were going to keep the same rules in this forum or group. And definitely, that means we're not, this group isn't to post, I feel these symptoms, blah, blah, blah. And, does anybody else feel this? There's a million anxiety groups online for that. I used to go into some of them hoping to help people, but it felt like most of the people in them were just wishing to complain and stuff. So I mostly left there. So if you're looking for a place to complain, this isn't the one. Go to one of those other ones. But if you're looking to explore this inside out understanding of how anxiety is created and how it's coming and where it's coming from and how you can start to feel better, this is the place for you. Post those kinds of questions. Let's see. I may miss some of the questions here, so forgive me. I've only got about, okay, we've been on almost 15 minutes already. That can't be right. Blah, blah, blah. Caffeine intolerance. Did I answer that online? No. Okay, so Allison has a caffeine intolerance, but needs to have caffeine for another, for a physical illness, and then feels bad later in the evening if she has the caffeine. She'll get panic attacks. So sometimes with, and I can't, it's physical things, I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose things like that, but I'm guessing it's one of these belief kind of things, because it's always happened, the cause and effect, deep-seated within your psyche, your conditioned mind, you have it equal. If I have caffeine during the day, I'm going to have a panic attack at night. So that's become a bit of a belief, because it probably usually happens for you. So, the belief is there for a reason. But maybe there's a way to loosen that belief just a little bit, that maybe it happens a lot. But have there been times where it hasn't happened, where you haven't had a panic attack when you've had caffeine? That could be the case, where it's not always. And that can leave a little crack open to see that, yeah, maybe it will happen, but maybe it won't too. And so leaving it open for that, because you could still feel the feelings of the caffeine in your body. Like, the feelings might feel like anxiety, but it's caffeine, not anxiety. So it's really the meaning that you're somehow giving it in your head. And again, that comes down to awareness too of the fact that you're thinking. We don't know what thoughts are in our head, and they're way buried in there, so it's not going to feel like thinking. But becoming more and more aware of the fact that we do think can really help, even in situations like that where it's a physical reaction. What else? Let me go up to this thread here. If people have, I don't know why I can never. Oh, okay. Comments will appear here. Well, where are they? What you're answering now is my issue today. How strange, said Charlotte. Well, that's good. The world works like that. Isn't it funny? All the synchronicity. Love this paying attention from Erin. Good, thank you. This is true. I need to let go of the future thoughts, Charlotte said. Absolutely. I'm telling you, that's where suffering comes from. And the suffering part is optional. Shirley's watching. Michelle, PTSD, how do you deal with flashbacks? I understand anxiety come from thoughts, but what happens when the thought happened in the past and could happen again? How do you not be fearful? Well, I've not had PTSD, so I just keep that in mind. I do suggest you look up Mary Schiller's stuff online, because she did suffer PTSD and she no longer does after hearing this understanding. But aside from that, my understanding of it is something happened in the past that actually happened to you, and now it comes back up into your mind, into your thoughts. But it's not happening to you now. It's just thoughts happening to you now. So the past can't affect us other than through thoughts. Thoughts create our feelings. So there's something in knowing that thoughts themselves aren't harmful. Like, you can be having even thoughts about the past thing, but they themselves are not harmful. They're just energy flowing through you that comes and goes. And there's something in the knowing of that when you start to see how it flows through you when we leave it alone, that sometimes can help. But I don't want to say too much on that because, again, I don't know. I would, maryschiller.com, I think it's SCHILLER. She has some videos or talks or something where she talks about that herself, how she's completely transformed. So I would check her out. Annabelle's reading my book and listening to my posts at the same time. Okay, that's awesome. You're a good multitasker. Charlotte, sometimes I think oh no, she said, can you experience physical symptoms even if you think you're not worrying? Absolutely. We don't know we're worrying. That's this thing. That's what we're talking about here. We don't know it. I spent my whole life being anxious and not knowing it. I didn't like some of you guys have panic attacks and things like that. I really didn't have that. I just had constant anxiety that I didn't know because it was normal. I just thought that was life. You're supposed to have your head buzzing all the time and being scared of what's going to happen around the corner and not wanting to talk to people and keeping your head down. I just thought that was normal, even though other people weren't doing it. So I didn't know I had anxious thoughts going on. And that's the whole point of this. We don't know. We don't know. So until I learned, oh, you mean that feeling of anxiety or worry was because I had a head full of thought, and then when I started observing my thoughts, I said, oh my God, I do have a head full of thought. Once I learned that, I was like, oh, okay. And fewer and fewer thoughts eventually started coming in. So yeah, you won't know it's thought. You can't pick out like the individual thoughts. They're just in your head. And that's what they do. So, yeah. What time is it? 2:49. Physical symptoms without knowing you're anxious. Yep, that's normal. Everybody has that. That's how the whole world works. That's how human beings work. Charlotte, I'm just skipping through some of these things so I can get in as many as possible. Deborah, I'm suffering from anxiety and depersonalization. I'm not sure what that is. By the way, I'm not a psychologist, even though I sort of pretend I am. I feel like I am, but I'm not. Someone said, thank you. How much... I didn't know how... Erin said, I didn't know how much anxious thought I have until I read your book the other day and started paying attention. Yeah, right? And it's so different, like, for me now. Because now if I do get anxious, I really do notice it. Because I don't have it all the time. And I don't like it now. Like, I mean, because it's not my normal. So if I notice it now, I really do try to reset to... I think, we have a middle point. That's our natural state of peace. And that's, tends to be my state most of the time now, this middle state. But if, I start worrying or get mad or whatever, and I start to go off the rails, I feel it and it hurts and I don't like it. So I just pull myself in. It's almost like a biofeedback machine. But it's not something I do like on purpose. I just settle. My mind just settles. Charlotte said, remind me of your book. It's all over the forum, but it's Victim of Thought. Seeing Through the Illusion of Anxiety, and it's really cheap on Amazon. And Melanie's reading it. It's easy reading. Thank you. That's my goal. My daughter, who's having the problems, claims that she's even reading it a little, so we'll see. She said it wasn't as bad as she thought it would be. But you know, mothers and daughters. Erin says depersonalization is where you feel sort of out of body, like watching from a fog, or like you're in a drug, sort of, like your senses are mixed up. Well, that sounds like it's made of thought to me. I mean, everything's made of thought, so, but I can't speak directly to that. I'm sorry. Lisa loved the book. Looks like that's all the questions there. Is this long enough for you guys? You want more? What? It's fun to answer the questions. Let me check the other thread. Everybody, it's so much about physical symptoms, and I get that, because it doesn't seem like the physical stuff could be thought. And yet, our physical stuff, pain even comes to us from via thought in the moment. Like if there's stories of people who don't realize they're hurt, and they, and they keep on doing stuff, and then all of a sudden they look down and, their arm is like hanging off and bloody and stuff, and then they feel the pain. Like, how does that happen, right? It happens because they weren't aware that they were hurt, so the pain sensations didn't kick in. Now, that doesn't mean that's always the case. We can obviously get pain even when we don't know why, but it comes to us from thought. That's how, I think, this could be wrong too, but I think that's how painkillers work. They block the neurons, or whatever it is. My son would know this. He's a neuroscientist. But they block it, and so the waves don't get back to the brain. And so even pain comes from thought to a certain extent. Rosemary asks, how do we stop fearing our thoughts? There's no how-tos. But when you start to know, do you know what thought is, Rosemary? Thought's just energy that keeps us seeing the world. It's just energy that, like, flows through our brains, and we're all like attached to the same energy, and everybody has it, and everybody has the same thoughts too, believe it or not. They just come in different flavors based on our conditioning, but they're just energy. So, like, there's nothing scary in a thought. A thought is just energy, just like, turning on a light bulb produces energy. So there's nothing scary in it. So I don't know how to tell you not to be scared of something that's not scary. It'd be like the video I did the other day when I mentioned the tomato stem. It's like saying, how do I not be afraid of the tomato stem that I thought was a spider? You just don't, because there's nothing scary about it, and there's nothing scary about thoughts. So it's really, in a way, silly to be scared of our thoughts. And as Sydney Banks, the founder and person who came up with all this stuff that we talk about here, says, if only we could learn not to be afraid of our thoughts, we'd have a completely different experience of life. That's not a direct quote, but something like that. Louise says, is it possible to want insight so much that you try too hard? I so want my anxiety gone. It's not only possible, it's like what happens to most people who first hear about this stuff, and it's probably the one thing that does actually block people from getting insight, because it's when you're doing that, when you want to get an insight, you're adding more thought on top of thought. You're beating yourself up because you're not getting insights, and all that is thought. So it's more, you're just creating more in here, and it's not until our head clears that the insights generally can come in. That's not even completely true either. I've had major insights when I was at my worst of times. So you can't even say that. But just observe your thoughts during the day. All of you, all of us. That's the most important thing. Not so much the content, but observe that you're thinking. See how much thought is going on in your heads. And I'm telling you, it can't stand the light of day. It'll start to subside. Katie says, thank you, you've been really helpful. You're quite welcome. I'm going to end this now because I think I have to do a call with my mother shortly. I keep having to tell her the same things about what's happening with my daughter because she forgets from what I told her yesterday, which is fun. So I think that's it. I'm post more questions in the forum. I'm looking forward to doing more videos over the next month, and I'll try to do more lives when I can too. And catch you guys later. Bye.